Hi, this is part 3 of the videos that take you through how to set up a shares, ETF and fund tracker in the UK using Google Sheets and ably assisted by AI. This is part 3, as I say, so you should see links to part 2 and part 1 coming up on your screen. If you've got any issues, put them in the comments. Enjoy. So let's start by copying the fund name. Grab that, kind of paste it into FT. Once we've found the fund that we want to track, we then take a copy of the URL for the page and then head back to Gemini to put that into a prompt to extract or parse the current price from the URL that you've just copied. And you'll do that, and then Gemini will consider that request. In this case, they put it as a separate function, which you could copy into Google Sheets, but I don't want that. What I want it to do is actually add it to the previous table that we created. So I'm now prompting Gemini to do just that, to create and update the previous table such that we've got the full table, including the new fund that we wanted to add to the table. While doing that, I wanted to make sure that it added the correct fund name and also the correct fund ticker. So I've just given that to Gemini in the prompt also, so it makes sure that it adds and formulates the table in the correct way. So here we go. Here's the new table. It's now got the additional information for the fund, including the information used to pass from the FT directly. Copy that, and then we're going to paste that into Google Sheets, and let's see what comes back. We seem to have an error. So again, conversationally, let's go back to Gemini and see what the issue is. We grab the information that appears. It seems to be more than just the price that's coming through. We then prompt Gemini to tell it what the response has been from the parsing of the URL. So basically type out that this is the information we got back using the parse that it gave us. And what will happen then is Gemini will consider that, and it will then give us a response to tell us, hopefully, exactly how that's correctly fixed. So let's see what it comes back with. Okay, here's a response. It's actually given us the function that we need to post into Google Sheets, so I'll just copy that rather than ask it to recreate the full table, and copied it into the cell, remembering to actually copy it as a value. So now that's pasted in, we can see that the current value has come through. So let's move on to another one, just to give another example. So we copy the fund name, go into FT, get the page where that fund is listed, grab the URL, go over to Gemini, basically ask it to do exactly the same thing again, parse the page and pull out the price, basically using the same formula as what we used previously, so it doesn't make the same mistake again. And for ease, for this time, I'm asking Gemini to append the information to the previous table. So giving it the URL from FT to pass the information. So all AI can be a little bit temperamental, depends on the prompts you give it, of course. In this case, it didn't add to the table, so I'm just re-requesting the information to be added to the table with the fund name and also the FT ticker that is used to signify the fund. So we make sure we input that correctly this time and enter that information. And let's see what it comes back with. So this time we've actually got a table, and what we should do is copy and paste that table. It seems to be structured correctly. Grab that, And then let's go over to Google Sheets. And essentially we're going to paste over all of the information that we've currently got in the sheet and have a brand new table. Hopefully this one works for us. Paste values, and there we are. So we now have shares, ETFs, and funds in this tracker. So let's make this a bit more useful. I'm just adding number of shares also in the table so we can work out the total value. Going back to Gemini and prompting it to basically say, can we calculate the value assuming a set number of shares? Gemini does this, works it out in the table, but when I look at the table, it seems that it's just added it on to the value of the amount being passed from the URL. So I go back in and change that and ask it for it to allow for a user to input the amount of shares and then it to work out the value in total based on the number of shares and the value being drawn from either Google Finance or from the FT. And you can see there's a column there that does that. And I'll copy this from Gemini and then put it directly into Google Sheets. There we go. So let's see if that works okay. Copy, paste values. No, so there was an error. I've left these errors in so you can see how iterative the process can be. So I go back to Gemini again, tell it what the problem is, and there's an issue with the columns not aligning, and ask it to rerun the information. Let's see if that's correct. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to copy now on the assumption that it's been corrected, paste that into Sheets in the usual manner. And now we can see that the values are coming through correctly. And you can alter some of the number of shares held, and you'll see that the price updates dynamically based on the number of shares being held. So I just tweaked the sheet, added totals at the bottom, and now I'm just putting allocation. So again, quite straightforward. In this case, we can actually ask within Google Sheets to do the allocation. So I'm just asking it to work out the allocation by share, fund, or ETF. Let's see what Google comes back with. So here's a response. It comes through. I'm just going to grab that, put that into the top of the allocation column and see if that gives us what I want. When I look at that and fill it down, it doesn't. It actually gives just numerical values. I'm after percentages, so I go back to Gemini within Sheets and ask it to put the information, the allocation into percentages. So it then gives me that information or that formula that I can then copy and paste through into the allocation column. And once that's been done, and we have nicely is a percentage of allocation, and then we can just copy that down to get to the 100% across all those different shares, funds, or ETFs. So let's take it to the next level of use. I'm now asking Gemini to pull together a table that takes those values, those current values, and applies an assumed average percentage rate over a period of time. And what that's looking to do is identify how much that particular fund could potentially grow based on the inputs that you put in, assumed growth rate and time period. So here we are, we have the new table with the new formulas. We're just going to grab those and we're going to pop those into Sheets. I tidied the table up a little bit so it's a little bit more colorful, but essentially what I'm doing exactly the same is copying and pasting that full table from Gemini into Sheets. And you can see that it's now got that full information around number of shares, the total costs, the percentage return, but also the number of years that you'd like that return to be seen for. And this starts to become useful for working out potential value of your portfolios in the future. Again, there's very heavy health warnings against that because, of course, no one can actually know the future and the rates, but based on historic rates, this is quite useful. And now, of course, you can amend those return rates, especially if they're against specific types of fund. Maybe you've got a bond fund in there and you expect the return rates to be lower than perhaps a broad index fund. And then you can change also the longevity, the time period that you would like to see that growth over. So it's quite flexible. You can do quite a few things with this. And the final thing I want to add is put the allocation back in. So it gives a view of the future allocation that you'll have if the growth rates turn out to be true. Also, if the years of investment are correct. So now what we're going to do is just put back in the allocation. Again, we're going to use Gemini within Sheets to do this. We give it the prompt. Unfortunately, I didn't ask the allocation to be percentage allocation, so it's given me the numerical allocation. So I now go in and ask for the percentage allocation. So updating the prompt to ask for the percentage allocation, and of course it will then process that, and then we'll be able to put that back into the table. So here we have the formula. I'm just going to grab that now, copy that, and then paste it into the allocation column. And then make sure we copy that down. There we have it. There's the allocation across that future potential value of the shares, ETFs, and funds. So now AI alongside Google Sheets opens a lot of possibilities. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, leave a comment, subscribe. I'll put the prompts in the description so you can download them. I hope you have a wonderful day.